Back for a rematch, guys. How'd you, what do you think when you won Saturday and you finally said, all right, and North Dakota State pulled it out? What's the first initial thoughts? And you thought, all right, let's head back up there.
Well, I think everybody was just excited to see who we were playing because of the tight game last week. So once we found out we were playing North Dakota State again, I think everybody got serious and was like, well, we know what happened last year, so we determined not to make sure that doesn't happen again.
I think the same. It's just a great opportunity to get a rematch. It's very rare that you get a exact same rematch as the previous year in the playoff game. So everybody, like Hop said, we all have a sense of urgency and know what's at stake. We're just looking forward to it and looking forward to a good game.
How much has that loss stuck with you guys and the team over the last year?
For me, it was Coach Goodman talked about North Dakota State all season, talking about why we need to know our run fits and stuff like that. So I had to hear about North Dakota State from last year during the springtime up until now, and it's like this is my opportunity. This is our opportunity as a team to get revenge.
What was the major takeaway from that game? When you left that arena, what were you feeling? What did you think was the difference that separated the two teams?
Overall, they just had their way with us. Ran their offense, manhandled us up front. We wasn't very sound on defense, and it was a slap to the face after the game. I was just thinking to myself about the season, but I was just thinking I got my senior year coming up, so hopefully I get another chance at it, and just so happen here's another chance coming up.
What's it like playing up there from a player's perspective in that? It's a real different atmosphere.
Yeah, it's different from being in South Carolina, but it's nice what they have going on, the nice facilities and stuff like that. And good thing we don't have to play in the cold, get to play in the dome again, so I'm looking forward to that.
Are there any intricacies of that dome that maybe you've learned from last year as far as dealing with crowd noise, or does the turf feel different under your feet than another place? I mean, what's different about that place that maybe you learned about?
I give credit to their fans. They actually understand football, know when to be loud, know when to be quiet. They do a great job of getting research on the players and stuff like that. So a couple times last year in pregame, we was warming up and a couple of the fans was calling my name and I just had to ignore them and stuff. But I think it won't be as bad for the defense having to deal with the crowd. It'd be more on the offense having to deal with the noise and stuff.
What you learned last year then?
They're real loud, obviously, and we know that coming into this year. I think last year we went in hearing about how loud they were and not really getting a good understanding of it. So once we got there, it was like, these guys are pretty loud. So I think going into the game, us knowing how loud they actually can get, the lights, within the dome, or how we're gonna see the ball and stuff like that. So we got a good understanding of what we're going up against as terms of the facility-wise with the turf and the lights and the crowd noise. So I think we're preparing pretty good for it with the loud music at practice and just ready to get going.
You get a chance to watch the South Dakota State, North Dakota State game at all?
Yes.
Yeah. Your impressions?
Zach Zimmer's a stud. The running back for South Dakota State. I'm very impressed by him. I love his game. But North Dakota State, from their standpoint, they're great defense. They fly around, they hit, they swarm to the ball pretty good. They got some great athletes. Number 38, the linebacker, is a good player. And we're going to have to come out and execute better than what we did last year in order if we're going to come out with a victory.
Just in terms of personnel and talent and everything, what gives you confidence that it can be a different result this time when you look at their team and your team now compared to last year?
Well, I think with our experience level being a little bit higher than it was last year, our coaches are drawn up a great game plan for us, and just the experience of us as a team that I think is better than it was last year. So,
do you think after watching that South Dakota State game, and then I think they got beat again earlier in the year, 23-3. Do you think they're more vulnerable? Do you think they're as good a team as they were last year?
Wow, that loss that they took, I think, gave them an eye opener. I think that they're going to come after every team like they would in the previous years, but they don't like to lose, obviously. But they're human, we're human, so we're going to get out there and get after them.
Quinn, what are you noticing about that offense? Looking at tape these last few days.
The good thing about their offense, they all understand what they want to do. So defensively, we got to be disciplined in our run fits, in all of our assignments. We got to have great communication all around because they can capitalize off our mistakes, and it really doesn't take a lot of things for us to do wrong for them to be able to execute. So overall, everybody has to be sound and disciplined and everything. And like I said, the main thing, they want to run the ball, and we trying to stop them from having their way and running the ball and make them pass the ball a little bit more than they want to.
Have you all considered what this would mean for the program and for this group of guys if you do win and do upset them and keep going?
It's the playoffs, and everybody has that main focus, want to win a national championship, and we know for us to compete for the national championship, we need to take care of North Dakota State. So it would be a great deal, and be it for this university, be it for this program, but overall, they're just another team that's in our way of our main goal.
And I think we all understand that this game is bigger than just us on the team. It's big for our university program, city of Conway, seniors especially. So we're coming this week definitely with determined and with a different will and to win.
Quinn, their star defensive player, Kyle Emanuel, is another Buck Buchanan finalist like yourself. I know you're not going up against him, but is there any kind of personal challenge there? You both are going to be playing on ESPN, a big spotlight, and you're both up for this big honor?
Not really, because at the end of the day, me and the other guy, we can't win a football game. It can't be about me and him. It's overall, it's Coastal Carolina versus North Dakota State, and I'm ready for the challenge. But right now, I'm not worried about that award or that player. I'm just looking forward to playing North Dakota State.
You guys don't leave the region much, and this is a long, long road trip for you. You get in the minds, you and the players doing anything special to get your minds right for this thing, to make that travel, make that trip up there? I think you're leaving on Thursday, and what's the agenda to kind of get your mind ready? I know if you're not football ready by now, you're not going to be.
Yeah, it's just, the good thing is we finish up with school this week, and we've traveled up there before, so we kind of have that advantage and have that experience to our coaches and stuff, understanding what we need to do, how we need to travel and stuff like that. Coach Glenn and Coach Moglia all do a great job of having us in the best situation, and like the idea of us going up on a Thursday compared to a Friday. So it's a great feeling. We don't have to rush for anything, and we can just relax and just enjoy the flight up.
How do you feel right now? You a little bit nervous or no?
I'm actually ready to go. I'm excited for practice today and just ready to get up there.
All right, North Dakota State. Clearly there's a reason why North Dakota State has won 3 national championships in a row. There's a reason why they were #1 in the country the majority of this season. Their record over the span of the last 4 years is just literally incredible. They have done a super job. I'm aware of the fact that they lost a lot of guys from last year's team, but they have a lot of guys coming back that saw a lot of time and a lot of action last year. So they may have been a little less experienced in the beginning of the season, but those guys have played 13 or 14 games, and these are guys that played a lot the previous season or 2. So they're not that inexperienced. They might be inexperienced relative to last year's team, but they're not inexperienced relative to other teams they play against, #1. #2, they do have at least 3, maybe 4 coaches left over from last year. The head coach was the defensive coordinator a year ago. I am assuming he may serve in that role. If not, I'm sure he oversees it because the defense is very similar to what it was a year ago. They have, the top 1 or 2 defenses in the country. Our offense is going to have some work cut out for it. I think there's no question that their defense, a lot of those guys did play in the game a year ago. I think because they did so well against us, I think they'll be quite confident. from their defensive perspective. From an offensive perspective, I think the quarterback's really good, the running back's really good. They've got some really good receivers. Their line's a good, tough group. Not quite as experienced as they were a year ago offensively, but good, but a very, very good team. Their specialists are outstanding. The punter averages 45 kicks. I'm sorry, the punter averages 45 yards a kick. He's been consistent. He can get the ball down inside the 5 or the 10. Their kickoff guy is also the punter. He can get it into the end zone on a pretty regular basis. I think he's got a whole slew of touchbacks. I don't remember how many, but a lot of them. Their field goal kicker has been very consistent. He's 47 for 47 on his extra points. He's something like 25 for 29 on his field goals. You know, there's a reason why they're one of the best teams in the country, and there's a reason why they have been over the span of the last few years. With regards to us, the question I would assume you're interested in is kind of what's the comparison like this year and last year versus us and our take in terms of what's going on. Number one, this is a different team than a year ago. I was proud of the effort that our guys put in last year. We had a good season. I thought we kind of maxed our potential. I think this team, I think we're getting a little better as the season winds up going on. And there is a difference as we go into the playoffs. Remember last year, we didn't get seeded, and we had to play an opening round game, which we played at home. Then we had to go to Montana. That Montana victory is as outstanding a victory as any team in any program is going to have very often in somebody's career. It was that significant. But it was also played in 25 degree below zero temperature. It was played, we traveled 5,500 miles to go there and back. We came back, we had exams, then we had to get on a plane and go out and play the #1 team in the country. And our guys gave it our best shot, but frankly, I think we didn't have as much juice left as maybe what we normally would have. I think that did take a little bit out of us. This year, we had a first round bye. Our guys were able to get 3.5 days off. I think they took advantage of that. We had a good week of practice that week. We had a good week of practice last week. I think we did a good job against Richmond, and we played home against Richmond. So now we're going to get on a plane. We're going to go, 2.5 hours on a flight. We'll get there really late Thursday night. And the big priority for us is our guys finish their exams and make sure they do a good job there and get all that behind them. So I think we're going to be in better state mentally and physically than what we were a year ago. I don't think we realized that a year ago, but I think that will be an honest comparison. From an offensive perspective, if we're going to be effective, we got to execute better than we did last year. We got to have good ball security. Let me repeat that. We got to have good ball security. We got to have good ball security. We got no stupid penalties. From a defensive perspective, we got to take away some of their power game. We got to take away their play action, the naked stuff. We've got to be sound and disciplined with regards to our reads. We're getting much better at this. We're getting much, much better at this. Still not quite where we should be. We're probably going to need a big play in special teams, but we got to hold our own in special teams. We got to hold our own in special teams. They've been good at special teams as well. And if we went doing all those things, you know what? We're going to have a good game with these guys. This is going to be a good football game. This is going to be a good football game. I'm not going to be surprised at all if it comes down to the end of the fourth quarter. But it's going to be a football game. I know we'll be ready to go. I know we'll go out there. We'll give it our best. Now, ask me some tough questions.
What'd you learn about going to that dome for the first time, being in that atmosphere? What do you take with you?
Well, I think Joe, that's a good point too. That's another experience. So we can talk about the noise in the dome, but the fact that the guys were there and they really hear it, like when our offense is on the field, we're assuming they're not going to be able to hear anything except the noise. So everything's going to be signals. From a defensive perspective, because their fans are going to do a good job of keeping it quiet for their offense, our defense will be able to communicate. We should be able to do all those things. Probably be kind of neutral as far as special teams go. The real key in a very, very noisy environment, and we talked to our guys about this, this is the way the mind works, this is the way the brain actually works. If you are not truly focused, but you train yourself to do this, so we're trying to do that this week in practice, what happens is you hear the noise, and you kind of know what you got to do, but you're hearing the noise. And you've got to be able to be so focused and think so hard mentally that what you've got to be able to do is literally mentally drive the noise to the back of your head. So your focus is your responsibility, your assignment, and your job. If you are focused and what you're hearing in your head is your job and what you need to do, and the noise is background, you're fine. Most people have real trouble doing that. We need to be able to do that. It's not easy, but we talk about that whenever we're going to a stadium, like we're going to Liberty. Last year, we're going to play these guys, playing Montana. So our guys understand that concept a little bit better than others, but we still got to do it. So we still got to do it. And we're practicing pretty loud music. The music's pretty good, by the way. Want a chance, come over, listen to a little music, maybe kind of dance a little bit in the stands. You should come to practice the next couple of days.
Whose kind of music? Who picked it out?
I picked out a little piece of it. I got the George Thorogood piece and the Bruce Springsteen piece. The guys got the rest of the stuff.
Oh, I thought it was stuff from the 50s.
We use the stuff from the 50s if we want a slow like break in August. So we'll play something in the 50s that's kind of like Only You, something like that.
Have you learned anything from any of the other games North Dakota State has played, like the Northern Iowa? They must have done a job on these guys.
I thought-
And South Dakota State too. I mean, they had them. Those two games, did you get a chance to study both of those?
Yeah, I did, and all the guys on our staff did. And I think the Northern Iowa game was played in Northern Iowa. And you see the stands from Northern Iowa going bananas. North Dakota State is not used to that because they're playing their stuff. And when they go someplace else, there may be some noise, but Northern Iowa tried to equal what would have happened if they were playing at the Fargo Dome. So that was part of that. But I thought they had a real good game plan. I thought they did a good job of executing. Frankly, the quarterback was off on some of his stuff. Some of the stuff that he normally completes, he wasn't completing. They were very good at special teams. They came up with a couple big plays. And I think the same thing was the case with South Dakota State. I think they wound up doing a good job. You know, you come up with plays, you do the things that we kind of talked about. So we'll learn from both of those. Both game plans were a little bit different, but both teams did a very good job of executing their stuff. And like I said, that's kind of my kickoff. We've got to be able to execute.
Coach, you said you're installing hand signals for the offense during the loudness of when the offense is on the field. Obviously, there's offensive linemen, but were they going to have hand signals too?
Well,
see Alex
Lane, what we do is though, while we'll use our voice, we start hand signals in August. I'm sorry, in spring practice. So from spring practice on, the signals are always hand signals.
This is not something that's new this week that you've.
No, what's a little bit new this week is just kind of how we're going to handle the snap count and that type of thing, and how we might handle an audible. That might be a little bit new, but the hand signals are the same signals that we've been using all along. But now, if we are yelling something, sometimes you hear Dave Patton kind of like yelling if up in the press box. He might be yelling, but they're not going to hear him. So there's going to be signals. But Dave doesn't signal anyway. Other guys, we've got 4 guys give signals. 2 alive and 2 are dead. On defense, we have 2 guys give signals. 1's alive, 1's dead. And I bet none of you can tell who's alive and who's dead at any moment in time.
Kevin Hart going to make most of the calls on the offensive line?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Do you move that around as well?
Yes. We're also in the process, Lane, of kind of playing with that a little bit. And I just assume they not know exactly how we're doing this. So bottom line is, if you see our right tackle, but I don't want this to go anyplace else. If you see our right tackle go like this,
It's on.
speed option. No, I don't want that outside this room.
Right, while the cameras are rolling. Yeah. So what's your game plan?
I think from an offensive perspective, you're going to find this hard to believe. We're going to go in with the idea we got to be able to run a pass. If they take away one part of that game, we're going to be more aggressive on the other side of the game. So if they try to gang up against our running game, we're going to throw the ball more. If they try to overplay the passing game, we're going to run the ball more. They'll dictate to us what we need to do on that, but we're going to go in with the idea we're going to be balanced. And we got to go in with the idea that we got to be reasonably simple because we're not going to be able to have too many discussions about adjustments. From a defensive perspective, they are an aggressive power team, and the quarterback will run the ball. Like against Richmond, the quarterback didn't run the ball. So we've got to respect his ability to be able to run because he can. He's a very good quarterback. He's a very good athlete, and he throws a nice ball. He's a big kid, like 6'4", 235, something along those lines. So we've got to be disciplined with regards to our reads. If we're disciplined with regards to our reads and we don't get rattled, they'll show a lot of motion and shifts. I think we're trying to keep our adjustments to those pretty simple. If we're effective with adjusting to their motions and shifts and we make sure we're making our reads right, I think we'll be okay on defense. And I feel good about what we're trying to do from a special teams perspective. It'd be nice if we could make a big play on special teams and make sure they don't make a big play.
few programs have achieved this kind of dynasty run that they're on. When you look at them, what do you appreciate about what they've built there in relation to what you're trying to do here?
I think one of the things that they've done is there's one part of their program, I mean, other than preparing to play them, that I have paid attention to, and that is Craig Bowles, the guy that did this, was from Nebraska. And one of the things that Tom Osborne was really noted for is having incredibly well-organized practices where you have multiple things going on at once. Most college staffs and most NFL staffs can't even fathom that they would divide up their staff. So you have, let's say, the first unit over here with half the defensive staff. You have the second unit over here with half the defensive staff. Staffs don't like to do that. So they keep everybody together. So by keeping everybody together, you get half as many snaps. Our defense, for example, has been.
Sorry, Coach, we just lost audio.
Craig Bowl, talking about.
Craig Bowles. Okay, so we talked about Tom Osborne and their organization. So most coaches really don't like to divide up their staffs during practice because they believe it'd be impossible to get all their guys coached. That's a fallacy. And consequently, so when we practice, we have multiple things going on at once, and I'll bet you our defense has had at least 60 to 70% more snaps this year than they did a year ago. That's part of the reason why we're better on defense. It's part of the reason why our twos are better on defense. That's what they've been doing for the last several years. So that snowballs and compounds on itself. That's part of the reason, too, why, even though they lost a lot of guys, the other guys are ready to play. So that's one of the things that they do that, frankly, I believe in. That's something I talked to Coach Osborne about when I was at Nebraska. And that's one of the things this year our guys have bought into. We started doing that last spring, and that's helped us.
Was that changed because of playing them last year and seeing?
No, we have been talking about it for 3 years, but I seldom mandate something. So at some point we say, oh, we can't do that because our coaches are not all in the same spot. Then at some point they go, you know what, let's keep trying it. And at some point they say, this works. That's kind of where we are now.
In the big picture, what would this win, if you win, mean to the program to beat a team like that at this point in the playoffs?
In the big picture, I think this will go down as certainly one of the greatest wins without question as far as the program goes. It would be our biggest win against the most significant team that we would have played over the 4 years. That's what it means. What else are you looking for? Something really profound? That's what it means.
Just fishing.
No, that's what it means. That's what it means. I mean, I couldn't be prouder of our program. I mean, our program, we are truly a nationally competitive program. So if we beat another team that has been there longer than we have and that has dominated that position, that'd be a wonderful one. But it's another game, it's another victory, it's another step along the way.
I guess that to take the next step with the program, do you feel you have to beat a team like this, you have to win a game like this to you?
There are 120. Here's the way I look at it. There are 125 teams or so in the FCS. There are certain years where 2 or 3 or 4 of those teams are just really, truly, absolutely outstanding. You can have your best team and have to go up against a team that just is the best they've ever been, and you have an off day, you're not going to win that game. By the same token, you could have the year where you're really outstanding, and those top 3 or 4 teams are not quite as good, or one of them fumble along the way and don't get there. So there's a lot of things to kind of determine whether or not, like when I talk to our guys, there's a lot of things that are somewhat outside of our control in terms of winning and losing, or actually winning a national championship. The only thing that's never out of control is our preparation and our ability to be able to go there, focus, do a great job in a handful of things that really, really matter, and execute. And when we do those things, most of the time we're very, very, very successful. But we can't always control what the outcome is. We can always control what we do. And that's what we try to focus on, the stuff that we can control. And don't worry too much about the other stuff. The other stuff happens.
Any of your starters banged up after the Richmond game? Are you good? Yeah, ready to go?
The guys that are banged up, Brett's a little bit banged up. We expect him to be okay. Linebacker, Brett's a little bit banged up. Alex Scarce, who's one of our special team guys, and backup at linebacker. We moved him from safety to linebacker. He's a little banged up. But I think everybody else is banged up who's already banged up in Richmond.
When you walked off the field last year, aside from the outcome, is there anything that kind of struck you and stuck with you that you said, okay, this is what we have to be able to do to get to this point?
I think some of the other coaches talked about that a little bit. I think that was just, we didn't play well that day. I think there are some reasons for that. I never make excuses. I didn't make excuses then, but I think there were some reasons for that. And at the end of the day, we had taken a team and, you know, we had gone to the quarterfinals of the national playoffs. We lost to the #1 team in the country over the span of the last 3 years. Our guys gave a tremendous effort last year, and especially that Montana win was incredible. Think about what we did playing against Liberty, coming down 19 and beating them. Think about playing Eastern Kentucky at Eastern Kentucky when they physically handled us the year before that. I couldn't have been prouder of last year's team, and that's what I focused on. I felt good about what our effort was.
Anything else, Coach?
Yeah, you always talk about probabilities. What's the probability that you could win this game?
I think if we do what we said, there's a good probability we can win. We do everything we just said, there's a good probability we can win.